All right, let's get right into it. We're going to pull back the curtain on the modern workforce and look at a framework for career survival in the age of AI. This is your guide to escaping what we're calling the Skill-Replaceability Matrix. I'm sure you know the scene, right? The blue pill. Hey, it lets you go on believing whatever you want, that your career is safe, your skills are secure, and everything's just going to be fine. The red pill, well, that's for when you want to see how deep the rabbit hole really goes. So, if you're still with me, that tells me one thing. You chose the red pill. You're choosing to see the system for what it really is. And what we're about to break down is a hidden structure that is already, right now, determining the fate of millions of careers. And this is where it gets a little crazy. The central idea here is that the very roles we've all been told are the future, the skilled, white-collar, professional jobs, they're actually the most vulnerable. Which has to make you wonder, right? How is that even possible? Well, to understand that, we need a map. And that map is the replaceability matrix. It's a really simple way to visualize the entire workforce, and more importantly, to locate exactly where you are within it. Think of it like the operating system running in the background of your career. This hidden system plots every single job based on two critical factors that we're about to see. And it's those two factors together that determine your long-term security or lack thereof. Okay, so here it is. As you can see, it's pretty simple. On the vertical axis, you've got skill level, from low to high. And on the horizontal axis, you've got replaceability, from easy over on the left to hard on the right. This creates 4 distinct quadrants where every job sits. So take a second. Just looking at this, where do you think the safest place to be is? I'm betting you pointed to the top right corner. High skill, hard to replace. And you'd be right, that's the goal. But first, we have to talk about the most deceptive area on this whole map. Quadrant 3, high skill, but easy to replace. This is where things get really counterintuitive. We're talking about jobs that require a ton of skill. Software engineers, content creators, financial analysts. This is supposed to be the safe zone. But the truth is, it's become a trap. So the obvious question is, why? How can a role that requires years of training and a high degree of skill be so easy to replace? It doesn't really make sense on the surface. But the answer, it all comes down to one simple concept. The concept is this. Are you a recipe follower? This is the critical vulnerability. See, a recipe follower is often brilliant at execution. You give them a detailed plan, a template, a set of rules, and they can produce incredible, high-quality work. But, and this is the big but, they are following a predefined process. Does any of this sound familiar? You take a detailed ticket and you write the code. You create content using a formula that you know works. You run the same standard report every week. These are all complex, high-skill recipes. And that right there is the core threat. Because AI doesn't get tired, it doesn't need a coffee break, and it is getting unbelievably good at learning and executing these complex recipes way faster and way cheaper than any human ever could. Okay, that's the problem. It's a little scary. But now let's talk about the solution. If Quadrant 3 is the danger zone, then Quadrant 4 is the safe harbor. This is the zone of the Untouchables. This is the key takeaway, maybe the most important part of this whole thing. Your entire career focus should be on making the leap from Quadrant 3 to Quadrant 4. It's not about getting better at following recipes. It's about changing the very nature of the work you do. So what makes someone an untouchable? Well, they aren't just following the plan, they're creating the plan. They design the systems, they define the strategy, and they're the ones making the nuanced, ambiguous judgment calls that AI just can't handle. They don't follow recipes, they invent them. Look at the distinction here. It's the difference between being given a blueprint and being the architect who designs it. One is about flawless execution within defined constraints. The other is about creating the constraints in the first place and navigating the total unknown. So how do you actually make this leap? It all comes down to a fundamental shift in your approach. You have to consciously, actively decide to become an architect, not just a follower. And let's be really clear, this isn't about taking another online course on the latest piece of software. It's a much deeper mindset shift. It's about changing how you see your role, your value, and the kinds of problems you choose to solve. So here's your game plan. 4 steps. First, audit your own work. What parts are just recipes? Be honest. Second, actively start asking for projects that involve designing the system, not just working inside of it. Third, run towards the messy, unclear problems that nobody else wants. And finally, number 4, you have to hone your ability to make those tough judgment calls where there is no clear right answer. And that brings us right back to the beginning. The system isn't going to move you to safety automatically. Just like in the movie, staying plugged in is the default. Escaping is an active, conscious choice that you have to make every single day. So I'll leave you with this question. Look at your work, your projects, your whole career path. Are you the one designing the machine, or are you becoming a predictable and ultimately a replaceable part inside of it? The choice is yours.